This episode of Angles is brought to you by Richmond Vona Personal Injury Attorneys. Expect high-level communication, transparency, and cutting-edge technology to keep your case moving. Expect a legal team that's laser-focused and moves fast to get the results you deserve. When the unexpected happens, expect Richmond Vona. Learn more at richmondvona.com, 192 Seneca Street, Buffalo, New York. Welcome to Angles, the podcast where we dig into the stories behind impactful people and explore the sharp turns, daily decisions, and defining moments that shape how they got to where they are and how they keep moving forward. I'm John Richmond, and every week I sit down with guests who are building bold, meaningful lives and careers in Buffalo and beyond. If you enjoy these conversations, please hit follow, subscribe, drop a comment, or share the episode. It's a simple way to help us grow with the community and keep these stories coming. Today on Angles, we're joined by Lisa Johnson, Chief Strategy Officer at Compeer Buffalo. Lisa has dedicated her career to championing mental wellness and building a more socially connected community, one friendship at a time. In this episode, we explore her journey from a college volunteer to leading an organization that fights loneliness, supports mental health, and empowers volunteers to make a lasting impact. From one-to-one friendships to workplace mental health training, Lisa shares how Compeer is changing lives across Western New York. Let's get into it. I'm super excited to be joined by Lisa Johnson. She is the Chief Strategy Officer at Compeer. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm good, John. How are you?
Good. So obviously we know each other, I've known you for a while now. Love everything about what you and everybody else is doing over at Compeer, and just really excited to have a conversation about the organization and also about your background and how you got involved. And I was thinking like maybe that's the best place to start. I don't think I've ever asked you that before. Like how did you come to work at Compeer, and what was enticing about the opportunity?
Yeah, this is a good story. Thanks for asking, John. So back in the day when I was in college, I was a psychology and human services major, and I was not in the Buffalo area. I went to Elmira College in the Southern Tier, and one of my professors actually did a partnership with the Compeer affiliate in that area. And so for one semester, I got to experience what it was like to go through the Compeer program and support someone else. Being a young college student, I didn't really take full advantage of that. But fast forward however many years, and there was an opportunity available at Compeer. And so I threw my name in the hat. I was looking for a new opportunity. I really enjoyed being in the nonprofit space. And in August of 2018, I started with the organization as the Director of Volunteer Engagement, and really got to bring my college experience up to the present and get all of that kind of matched together. So it came full circle, completely unexpectedly. And I stay because I really enjoy the mission. The simple work that we do that really leads to complex support for those in our community who are struggling with their mental health and are lonely and isolated it's incredible to have that level of impact. I'm really appreciative of what Compeer has provided to me in my own personal journey and my own growth. I've had the opportunity to evolve into the Chief Strategy Officer role, where I get to build relationships in the community that support not only the clients and volunteers that we're working with, but our staff as well. So Compeer has really given me a lot of opportunity to connect some of my personal passions to the professional work that I'm doing. And who knew that in the early 2000s, when I was taking a college class, that I would circle back and end up with the organization long term.
It is kind of wild when you look back at like the earlier version of yourself and you're like, man, I didn't know anything. And then, but you do some things right, and then you end up where you're supposed to be, hopefully.
Yes, exactly.
Which is awesome. So can you talk a little bit about the origin of Compeer? It's a really interesting, pretty cool story. And just kind of touch on, you did already, but like really like the mission of Compeer, like what you guys really do.
Yeah, absolutely. So our mission is to champion mental well-being, connect people, and build relationships one friend at a time. It's all about developing a more socially connected community. And that all started back in the early 70s when our founder, Bernice Skirbel, she goes by Bunny, she was involved in an automobile accident. that left her hospitalized for an extended period of time. And she was kind of observing and looking around at other patients in the hospital who were not having the same level of support and visitors that she had. And she said, oh no, like they're who's getting me through this experience. They are who are helping me strive to heal and to get better and stay socially connected. So after she was healed, she decided to give back to that community and provide more options for support. It started in a hospital setting and transitioned to becoming a community-based organization. It was founded in Rochester, so not too far down the road. And in 1985, the Buffalo location opened. So we've been serving our community here in Erie County for 40 years, but internationally, the entire organization has been in existence for, I think we're at 52 years now, which is pretty incredible that we're doing all of this work. We're mainly on the East Coast in the United States, but we're in 8 states here in the US. We're also in Canada, Australia, and the UK. So slowly but surely, we're making our presence known to help eradicate the loneliness epidemic that is in our country, but also worldwide, with the intention of reducing the stigma around mental health and making sure people have a friend.
I remember when we first met each other, I was just like thinking so much about this. I'm like, yeah, it's so great that finally there are organizations like Compeer who are like really pulling back like the curtain on mental health, right?
Yeah.
And really getting rid of this stigma, because it's like just something that, we know this, we talk about it, at our firm all the time. Like oftentimes, mental pain and suffering is much worse than the physical. And
Yep.
it's something that can be very hard to go away. Where like usually like if you break your leg, it heals, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the mental health issues can really linger. And it's interesting to hear you talk about loneliness as kind of like maybe I don't know if I'm saying this right, but like maybe like where a lot of this like kind of stems from. Can you like touch on that a little bit and how you guys work to through different programs to try to help people with that?
Yeah, sure. So, um, over the past few years, since COVID, really, mental health has become a topic that more people are talking about, and it's bringing to light what Compeer and other organizations have known for a long, long time. You came to us during COVID, I
I
think,
did.
is that's when you
Yep.
got started with us.
Yep.
And it was a record year for Compeer Buffalo in terms of how many volunteers that we onboarded, because it was relatable. We were all isolated and stuck in our homes and not able to go out and do the things that we typically did. And we are so fortunate that the community responded and said, you know what? I can make a phone call. I can get together with someone virtually. I can provide that support, because it's not only going to be helpful to them, it's helpful to me. Our unique circumstances and what was going on in our own households was really vastly different for every single person, but it helped people understand what that loneliness piece was like. The World Health Organization just recently, I think it came out in June, the end of June, released a study that they've been doing about the impact of loneliness and social isolation and how that impacts someone's life. And it's incredible how, the things that we do to try and combat that loneliness, like looking inward onto our phones and our devices, how really that amplifies the loneliness and it doesn't drive as much connection as we think it's going to. And so we are trying to make sure that we can connect with people in a variety of different ways. Some of that is virtual. Not everyone's able to get outside of their home. But we're trying to do it in a way that it's connecting humans to each other, as opposed to scrolling on social media. There's a time and a place for that, but that's not going to drive that connection all the time. So the World Health Organization study on loneliness is incredible. And it's so it's fascinating how much attention there is around this now, when Compeer has been doing this work for 40, 50 years. And just now people are starting to talk about it more. So if you haven't checked out that World Health Organization report, I would encourage you to do so. It's an interesting read.
Yeah, I love it if you'd send that to me, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you, so it sounds like you're saying that, one of the silver linings of COVID was, you know, oftentimes we we fail to understand others because we haven't been in their shoes, or we're
Yeah.
unable to empathize because like we just can't imagine what that must be like, right? So I guess that's a nice thing since COVID. But do you think there's other reasons besides, COVID, that all of a sudden now people are talking more about mental health? Do you think it's like lined up with social media addiction and things like that?
Absolutely. I think there's a whole host of reasons that people are now starting to talk about it. Um, it and I don't know if it's just kind of that addiction around social media or not. Um, but I think that COVID just really normalized it for people. It really allowed them to put themselves in someone else's shoes. And they saw how it impacted their own mental health in terms of, I have to
Yeah.
be at home. I have to help my kids sign on to school. I have to work. I have to navigate everything that's going on in this household. And then whatever dynamics within the family are going on, and the impact that that has on someone, or at that time had on someone, was really eye-opening for a lot of people. And I think it just led to more compassion and more empathy. What's super interesting is that now, fast forward, we're 5 years, 4.5, 5 years past all of that social isolation. And our numbers are down in terms of how many people are reaching out to volunteer, and the number of people that are asking to receive the service continues to increase. But people are being even more clear about their own boundaries and what they're willing to do and where they're willing to spend their time, that it's having an impact on the community as a whole, in terms of those volunteer opportunities. Um, and I don't have an answer for why, other than people deciding, hey, I knew what this was like. I know what my priorities are, and I'm going to devote more time to my family, than perhaps going back out into the community. Maybe I'm off base, but that seems to be a really interesting occurrence after having a record year of onboarding over 100 people, to now being below what our typical was. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I was introduced to you guys by somebody I know, and I got into the friendship or the mentorship program with a 9-year-old boy, and I tell people this all the time, like, and I don't feel guilty saying this, like, look, as much of an impact as I hope I had on him, I could tell you that he had equal, if not greater, impact on me. And I know, like a lot of people, I'm a busy person. We have a lot going on. But really it's only like a few hours a month. Like it's really
Hmm.
not much at all. And you could have in just that few hours such a huge impact on somebody's life. And it
Yeah.
makes you feel really good. Like I always tell people, like, think about when you give somebody like a great gift, or, somebody comes to you with a tough problem or a situation they're going through, like one of your friends or family members, and you help them,
Hmm.
and how good it feels to be able to be that person to help, and how grateful they are. I mean, imagine you get to do that for, a young person, or even somebody who's elderly and alone. I think there's just so many opportunities, and I just don't look, the time commitment's not that much when you really break it down and think about how much
Yeah.
time there is in a month.
Yes, yes, I love that. And hearing from a professional who's running a business and is in a high need kind of profession, to know that you made the time, I think shows that anyone can do that as well. And what's really cool is the things that you and your friend got to do together, you'd probably be doing anyway. And you're just doing that with someone else. And that's the beauty of the program, is that we really put a lot of intention behind how those matches are created, so that it's not an additional to-do list or something you're checking off on your to-do list for the week. It's, no, I get to hang out with my friend and look at what we're going to try this week, or look at what movie we're going to go see. And that impact is very long lasting, and it can change the trajectory of someone's life. We've had some of the folks in our program, younger folks in our program, who maybe were not in a traditional classroom. Maybe they were being homeschooled for a period of time, and because being connected to a volunteer through the Compeer program, they returned to a traditional classroom environment, which is pretty incredible. They got that one-on-one time with someone to talk about what was really going on and help them determine how can they be successful in the classroom. That's not necessarily the intended outcome of the program, but it was a big milestone for this particular person that I'm thinking about. We've had some folks that are older that are so used to being out and being social, but maybe their circumstances have changed. They've retired. Maybe their partner has passed away. Their family has moved away. They just want someone to go out and go see a show at Shays with, or to go out to eat. And that, that there's not a financial barrier there for them. They're just looking for that companionship. And it's amazing that Compeer can be able to do that, and how it also fills the volunteers' cup just as much. And to your point, helps them and as much.
Like you said, I mean, they'll tag along with you and fun things you're going to do anyways. But I'll tell you, I thought it was pretty awesome. I spent a lot of time at different playgrounds, shooting squirt guns at each other, racing go-karts, putt-putt. Stuff that, I used to love as a kid, but you get to be an adult and you're like, well, I don't really have anyone who wants to do that. I'm not going to go do that by myself. You forget how fun it is, So it's great. It's a lot of opportunity. And again, it's like, everyone's going through something different. A lot of us put up this like exterior shell, like everything's okay, but we all need somebody to listen to us and to ask how we're doing, and just sometimes just to be there, just to be next to you and just have a laugh with. I think it's really powerful. And you've been touching on, as we've just been talking, like some of the different programs, but you guys do so much. Can you just kind of walk through kind of your programs, how they work, that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So when Compeer started, the intention was to focus on one-to-one friendships. So matching a community volunteer with one of the clients in our program, and building a friendship over the course of a year. Spending about 4 hours a month together, but much to your point, that's not a lot of time. And most volunteers are reporting 10 to 12 hours a month or so with their friend, which still is not a super hefty lift. But that is kind of the central core of who Compeer is developing those one-to-one friendships. We have expanded a lot in the past 40 years to go into the schools. We now are working with middle school and high school guidance counselor and social work teams, and their school team identifies 20 to 30 students who are in need of a little bit more guidance. They may not be so high need that they're meeting with the school staff on a regular basis, but they're the ones that fall through the cracks. And so we have a team of school specialists as well as college students who are interning and develop that mentoring relationship throughout the academic year with them. We've been doing that program since I think 2017 in a variety of different school districts. And for the school districts that we're in year after year, there's some that have come in 6th grade and stayed in our program through 12th grade, which is pretty incredible that there's that level of support. That has now morphed into a higher education program. Since COVID, there's been an even higher need in the higher education setting for some social support. And so a couple of different colleges have programs with us, and it looks a little bit different. One college, Buffalo State University, has an alumni matched with a new student kind of mentoring program, while some other schools are developing more peer-to-peer. And we're really happy to be a part of that and to help support that mental health need that's on college campuses as well. Surprisingly, our peer support program is the newest program. The word peer is in our name, but we didn't have that formal peer support program until just a couple of years ago. And the intention behind that is to take some of the folks that have gone through our one-to-one program and elevate them, lift them up, and give them an opportunity to mentor other people. They receive a New York State certification to become a peer specialist, which is all about folks that have living experience with mental health and identify as being in recovery. They have successful coping strategies. They know what to look for, and what behavior changes take place in themselves and might lead to signs of struggle. They're now in such a good place that they're managing their care very well. They can work with other clients in our program. Um, and we put a lot of time and effort behind this initiative, not only because we want to elevate community members within the Compeer program to demonstrate and show to them you can do so much in this community and for yourself. We don't want your diagnosis to hold you back in any way, but it's also a way to close the gap in terms of need. So peer support team members will have a caseload of clients that they're working with versus a volunteer is assigned typically to one person. And so we're able to serve more people through this peer program. It's our program coordinator is a peer specialist. One of the peers is the parent of a youth in our program. One is a client who completed that one-to-one friendship. And the other person is someone who started as a volunteer and has extensive peer experience who now works full-time as a peer specialist with us too. So it's great that we're looking at new opportunities to build out that Compeer community so that people can support one another.
Yeah, it's amazing. And how do you guys work too? Because you guys do a good job of this. Like, how do you make sure you're reaching diverse populations like here in Buffalo and making sure that you can be available to people in different communities?
Yeah, great question. And I don't know that I have a perfect answer for you,
That's
but
okay.
a lot of our intention is around relationship building within the community. So for someone to be eligible to receive services from Compeer, a referral has to come from a mental health professional. So we do a lot of relationship building with organizations in our community like Horizon Health Services or Best South Behavioral Health, and a whole host of other sites that provide that behavioral health support and clinical support. And that helps us reach a diverse audience. And then from the volunteer perspective, we're always looking for businesses, organizations, schools, community groups that are located all over Erie County to share more information about Compeer with them and encourage them to get involved in some way. The faith community is something that we're leaning into a little bit more to share more about what we're doing and how they can help, because many faith communities in Erie County are very strong and very close knit, and so it's a way for us to share more about how they can have an impact on their community in different ways than maybe they're doing now.
Yeah, sure. It's like you said, it's about awareness, and
Yeah.
it's there's oftentimes no substitution for, we'll call it, boots on the ground. Like
Yeah.
just getting out there, meeting people, educating them on how you can help them, and then opening your doors to them when they need you.
Yep.
And you were talking about businesses, and we've also had you and Ashley. You guys came on site to our firm, and you
Yeah.
conducted mental health first aid training, which was amazing, and we really wanted that. We actually need to. I'll talk to you off air about that. We need to do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
again because our team's much bigger now. But I mean, our team was blown away, and really, the sum and substance was, we're dealing with people who are in really bad accidents, who are seriously injured, and obviously that's really stressful, can cause a lot of mental anguish, especially when it feels like your world is just crumbling and you're
Yep.
worried about everything. Can you talk about that program and kind of how you walk into businesses and train people and kind of what the training entails generally?
Yeah, absolutely. So since 2014, I believe we have been delivering the mental health first aid curriculum out to our community. And that's really intended for any community member to learn more about how to recognize that someone might be struggling. Perhaps they live with a diagnosis, perhaps not, but it's more about noticing changes, listening to what they're saying, their behaviors. And then how do you respond to that? because oftentimes that's the scariest part for someone is, I recognize that something's going on, but I don't know what to say, or I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to make it worse. So the mental health first aid training really kind of normalizes how to have those conversations. It helps people understand what's available in our community. There's so many support opportunities in our community, and people don't always need the same thing. So it's helping attendees understand while you're having a conversation with someone, it's about being non-judgmental and listening. It's about providing information. It's not telling them what to do. It's being there to support and listen and hear what's going on, and not making assumptions about what the next steps are that they need. Some people are afraid of getting help. They're afraid of the unknown. And so this training helps people learn a little bit more about what could that look like if someone decides to seek professional support. And it's also about identifying some of those things you can do on your own in your everyday life to help support your mental health. Just because someone's struggling doesn't mean that they're going to go to a clinician and get a diagnosis. It doesn't mean that they need a clinician every single time, but it's much more about noticing and being the person that's willing to start that conversation. It's an evidence-based curriculum that's really based in research. It was developed by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing. So Compeer didn't develop the training, but we do have staff and other instructors who are certified to deliver that. There's 3 different curriculums depending on the audience that you're working with. So we can train adults that work with adults that work with youth, and our newest module that we train is teen mental health first aid, and that is to help teens know how they can support one another, which is pretty incredible. We love going out into businesses, to schools, we offer community trainings for free. We're pretty fortunate to have a lot of grant funding that allows us, for the most part, to deliver this training and help people increase their awareness and their skills. And since starting to teach that, we've added other workshops and other training opportunities onto our roster, I guess you could say. We do a mental health 101. So for any audiences that are really new to mental health, mental illness, mental well-being, and all of those different terms, it's really leveling the playing field and saying this is a little bit of basic information that you should be aware of and why it's important to be aware of it. And then we've developed a workplace mental wellness workshop that supports businesses in particular with how they support their employees, which is really incredible. We have some great discussions about what's currently going on in your environment. Why should you consider paying more attention, and what can you do that will not only support the tenure of your employees, but create a more a safer environment at work, more mentally healthy, more mentally health friendly, mental health friendly. There's a mouthful. And really, what can you do that isn't going to be an extraordinary cost to the business as well? So there's a ton of things that you can do without it hurting your bottom line, right?
Right. We'll be right back after a word from our partners.
After an accident, life can be scary, stressful, tricky. You need Richmond Bona to help navigate the process, because getting a life-changing settlement can not only take time, it can take an emotional toll. The team at Richmond Bona provides high levels of support through all the ins and outs, so you get the settlement you need and the new beginning you deserve.
When the unexpected happens,
expect Richmond Bona.
Now back to the conversation. I'll say this too, like what a lot of older business owners think, or people who have that I think that archaic mentality where it's like, oh no, we don't want anybody to come in and tell our people how to be healthier, how we can create a safer workplace environment, because that equals lazy people, or that equals, like you said, we're not going to be productive, we're not going to be profitable. That is the complete opposite. I mean, when your team members, the people who put all their trust in you, feel or know that you really do care about them, and you're willing to work with them and help them through tough times and make sure they have the resources they need, honestly, I think they'll go further for you, and they'll want to stay with you. And, you should want to do it just because you want to be a good human being. And especially as a business owner, like we talk about all the time, like we are absolutely nothing without our people and we would be nowhere.
Yep.
And you have to constantly search for ways to be better for them, to help them more. And I think that's great that you guys are doing that. I just wish more business owners would realize that. I do think you're seeing like a wave of like the newer age business owners starting to understand that.
Yeah.
But I think everybody needs to realize that. Even if you just want to look at it as, unfortunately, that like, hey, turnover is expensive. Well, okay, it is. And you shouldn't want people to go anywhere, especially your good people. And this is one way of doing that.
Yeah. And as the workforce continues to change, newer people into the workforce are looking for environments that acknowledge mental health, that are
100%.
talking about that. And so whether or not a business owner or a leader at an organization has all of the knowledge, they want to start learning so that they can bring that information to their team and attract the talent that they deserve to have at their company.
Yep.
Because
it's like
people are savvy with their search.
100%. And it's like, you hear some business owners be like, I just don't understand Gen Z. I don't understand millennials. Well, I mean, if you want to continue to grow your business, you better learn to understand Gen Z and figure out what they care about and what's important to them. And it doesn't mean that you can't continue to have a successful business. You can't continue to grow. You just have to make some changes. And, that's called evolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And if you stay stalled behind, you're going to be phased out. I mean, there's tons of examples of businesses that don't adapt to the changing times, and they wonder why they're not top performing anymore. So if we can start those conversations and help support someone in that thinking and that brainstorming about what works for their environment, we're happy to do that.
Yeah. And, so I was thinking about this, and I remember thinking about this when we were going through mental health first aid training at the office. And I know this, what I'm about to say, this is echoed by my team members at the firm because they've told me the same thing. It's not just about learning how, say, in that situation, maybe the primary goal was to learn how to be better for our clients, to listen better, to understand what they're going through better, to help them, to understand things like passion fatigue, things like that, or compassion fatigue. But if you, I got to imagine like you have people in your life who come up to you and say, hey, Lisa, I have this friend who's going through a hard time and he or she keeps coming to me with this issue. I think we all have that at times. What would be like your maybe like high level advice to somebody about how to work with somebody who's going through a tough time?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think my first instinct is to say, listen, don't feel like you have to fill silence. Silence is powerful and it can lead to some really interesting conversation. Don't be afraid to share your observations and say like, hey, John, I've noticed this. Like, how come you're not coming to lunch anymore? How come, I don't know. I haven't seen you at the gym lately. And if it's something that's different than someone's typical routine, starting those conversations can be really helpful. And you don't have to have the answers as to what to do next. And it's okay to tell someone, you know what, I'm not sure what to do, but I know some people that can help. I know some places we can call to figure this out together. So I think being willing to take that step forward and start that conversation, and doing so in a non-judgmental way, and more so out of curiosity, and in a way that honors their privacy. So you're not going to, in the middle of the lunchroom, if you're at work, call it out in front of a ton of people. But if you have that relationship with them to start a conversation, pop by their office, or if you're out in the community and you set up a time to go take a walk together, something, just starting that conversation, because oftentimes people need to know that you're okay with hearing whatever they're going to say.
Right.
Even if you have no idea what they're going to say, you might be having some thoughts in your own head of, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's what they just said. But if visually you're there and you're listening and you're supporting, that's going to go really far and demonstrate to them that you're willing to help and that they're not going to get in trouble for bringing that up, or you're not going to judge them for that. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it's great advice. I think we can all benefit from that. I mean, because it happens all the time, and some people more than others. And, there's just some people that, I think a lot of friends go to, or family members, and
Yeah.
sometimes it can be tough to try to navigate that. Why do you, in your experience, what do you think is the biggest barrier for people in terms of why, they're reluctant to talk to friends, family members, or even, clinicians about what they're struggling with mentally?
There's just so many reasons. Some of it can be what they were taught growing up. What's typical in your own family, in your own greater community, in terms of understanding of the topic of mental health or mental illness. Sometimes the term alone is so stigmatized that people don't want to acknowledge or talk about it. They might not know that they don't have to feel the way that they're feeling, right? If that's something they've been experiencing for years and years and years, and as a helper or as someone that cares about another person, you're like, you don't have to feel that way. Do you know that? They might not even know that they have an option to feel some other way, or that there's resources out there. Financial barriers are a pretty big barrier for people in terms of not knowing if they can afford to get the help, because our healthcare system doesn't always provide that support. And not everyone has the same type of health insurance to cover those types of costs. I personally, as an employee at Compeer, feel so fortunate that our insurance health plan does cover mental health support. I can afford to go and see a provider when I need that. But not everyone is in that same type of situation. There are a lot of great providers who work with folks that have Medicare or Medicaid, and sometimes the wait time to get into them is pretty long. So people might give up because it can be lengthy to get into a provider. So there's so many reasons that someone might hesitate to even want to talk about getting help, or what that could even look like.
Yeah, I think back, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I think back to when I was growing up playing hockey and I was a goalie, and it's along the same lines. I mean, sports psychology is so big now, like working with athletes in order to help them perform at their highest level. But I think buried in that too, which is less talked about, is, helping athletes deal with stress, nervousness, how to deal with the pressure. I mean, there was a goalie in like the 90s and early 2000s, right? And it was unacceptable to tell anybody that you were nervous. Like, you're going in to play a huge game where everybody was relying on you. You better not say you're nervous. You better not say you're worried about anything. You got to keep that all locked in your brain. And now it's great, whether it's in sports or in life, that people, hopefully are more and more so realizing, like you said, you don't have to be alone. You don't have to feel that way. And there's opportunities. But what you said too about, the barriers, the financial barriers is real. Are there any ways that people who either like they don't have insurance and like can't get in or are waiting too long, even if they do have insurance, anything they can do, like, what would you recommend? I don't know if there's like stuff online or reach out to certain organizations like you guys. I mean, I'm just curious, like, what you would recommend to people in that situation.
Yeah, I think there's so many different directions that you can go. Best Self Behavioral Health is an organization that works with a lot of different financial circumstances. And there's other organizations like that too. So taking a step back from that, I would say reaching out to 211 would be a really good place to start. You can look at their website or call 211, and they can help direct you to resources that might be the most appropriate for you. So whether it's behavioral health or social support, other things like that. It's a really central kind of hub of where to start. Think about the other thing I would encourage people to do is really think about what do you like to do in your spare time, or when you're feeling down, what helps put a smile on your face, and not that's going to be an easy fix, like a light switch of like, oh, I'm all better. Like I don't mean that, but if there are things that you enjoy doing that you enjoy doing, create a list for yourself or a visual or something so that in those moments when you can't make any other decisions, there's decision fatigue, or you're in crisis, or in a situation where you've got to work your way through that. Having those things written down so you can look at that list and pick something could be another place to start as well. Things that involve a lot of different senses, right? So things that you can do to physically move your body, whether it's taking a walk or going to do a workout class, something like that. It may be some guided meditations or some grounding exercises. All of those things are some really great places to start, to add more tools into your toolkit, in ways that you can respond when you're not feeling the greatest or you're having a stressful day.
That's great. I mean, it seems like the message is right. Like, just keep trying things. Just keep trying, and if you find some things that help you feel better, even for a little bit, double down on it and find things that are similar, hopefully until you get the help that you need. So you all have accomplished so much since I've met you. It's really cool. What are maybe you most proud of or even most excited about?
Oh my goodness. That's a good question. I think personally, I'm most proud of as an organization that we are willing to grow and change and respond in ways that the community needs. So for example, that the school-based program came because of a community need. And now the higher education program is because of that community need. So because of the relationships that any employee at Compeer builds, we're able to hear about what's going on and respond in a really positive way. I think something I'm excited about. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm excited about everything. Just the evolution of, personally, the role that I'm currently serving in now is more about fundraising and kind of capacity building in a variety of different ways, but very much so financially for the organization. And we have for years and years and years, long before any of the current staff that worked here were on staff, we were very much grant focused, either private foundations, state funding, federal funding. And while that still is a priority, I'm in a position right now to be able to help us diversify those funding streams even more. And it continues to be about relationship building with people in the community and how they can make a meaningful impact to the organization. It's in my title. I love strategy. I love thinking about different ways of accomplishing goals and different ways of helping support organizations and the work that we're doing. So that's what I think excites me the most right now is what's on the horizon in terms of how we can fund the programs that we're delivering.
So I know you're not originally from here, but you've been in Buffalo for a while now. How do you feel, or how would you describe the Western New York community as it relates to their support of mental health awareness?
That's a great question. Man, you have some really good questions. You're doing your job, John.
I'm learning.
Can you say the question for me again?
Yeah, no, I just, I'll rephrase it this way. Like, I mean, we all of us, I think for the most part, who live in Western New York or live in Buffalo, we really love it, right? We love the sense of community. We love the people. Like, we band together, and through the bad weather, we should have a lot of common interests, and this place explodes in the summer. I mean, we can go on and on, right? But how would you, because I got to imagine that in different communities throughout the country, they respond differently in terms of supporting organizations like Compeer to raise awareness for mental health. How would you say Western New York or Buffalo has been throughout your journey here with Compeer?
Really positive. Since I've stepped into this role kind of pursuing funding and helping deliver mental health trainings in the community, there's a lot more positive conversation, a lot of curious conversation. And some of it comes from people's own lived experience, either themselves or a family member who has lived with a mental health challenge. You know, there's so much tangible experience that people have now that people are they're starting to want to talk about it publicly more so than ever before. Don't get me wrong, and there's still some improvement that we need to make, but I think once you get that time to sit and talk with someone and have a conversation, and when I say the words, this is about checking on your friends. This is about reducing loneliness. Think about your parents, think about your kids, and what environment and what world do you want them to live in. Light bulbs start going off and people connect with that because it's about that social connection and it's about relationships. It's you can put yourself in someone else's shoes. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what you're saying is it reminds me of like, it's like, hey, we, at our firm, we want to change the way people think about injury lawyers. And we know it's going to take a long time. It's one client at a time, one conversation at a time. But I hear what you're saying, where it's like, just get me in the room with this person. Just let me talk to these people. And if you had the opportunity to be in more rooms and talk to more people, or just in general, like, what do you think is like the biggest myth or stigma around mental health, that like once you have an opportunity to talk to them, people are like, oh, whoa, I didn't realize that.
I think the picture that someone has in their mind of what it means to live with mental illness is the biggest barrier to work through and to change that perspective. I mean, to look at someone and say, I have mental health challenges and I'm working full time and I'm navigating relationships in my personal life. I'm successful. Would you have put me in that negative picture? And so to normalize that and say, hey, it's okay if you struggle. We'd be robots if we all didn't have some sort of reaction to things that occur in our life. But the everyday person is going through something that you may never, ever know about, because sometimes we mask things, but mental illness doesn't mean that's your entire personality and that's everything about who you are. You might live with a diagnosis, or you might be going through something in your life that's challenging your mental health and still be able to do all these other things in your life. So kind of changing the picture of what that looks like and who can be in front of them, I think changes that conversation. Just talking about the people that are in our program and the life that they have lived. It's not, we have people that had full-time careers and retired, and then something happened in their life that has changed their mental health, and it doesn't invalidate anything else that they experienced in years before. And on the flip side of that, young people might have something traumatic that happens in their life that's impacting them right then and there, but it doesn't have to mean that their future is cut off and that it's going to impact them in the same way into adulthood. Yeah.
And I always tell people too, after, spending so much time with you and other people at Compeer, it's like, you know what, even if, it's your close friends, family, or just anybody, even if you think everything appears to be okay with them, like there's nothing wrong with saying like, how you doing? Mm-hmm. Like, what's going on? Like, how's everything been? Whatever it is, like, but in a sincere way, not just like a, hey, what's up? How's the weather? Like, it's like, hey, how are you? I think people would be shocked. Oftentimes it's the people who appear to have it all together, to quote unquote, have it all figured out, who, may be struggling, it's, so I think it's always important. Like you guys say, check on your friends. It's super important. So if you had a crystal ball and you said, hey, I can paint the perfect picture for Compeer over the next 10 years, what would you hope to see kind of occur during that in the future during that time frame?
I would love for us to have the opportunity to get messaging out to the broader community to increase the number of volunteers that come into our organization. Um, and so that our clients don't have to wait for that one-to-one friendship for as long as they do right now. We're doing things to help fill in some of those gaps with our social activities program. But the reality is that someone that's referred to our program will wait very likely at least 9 months before they get matched. And that's because of the volume of volunteer applicants coming through. So if we can do something to change the awareness of the organization and what we do for the community and with the community, I think that would change the trajectory around who we are. I would love in 10 years for people to, just as much as we're yelling "Go Bills" walking down the street, I'd love for them to be saying "check on your friends," and to know that that means Compeer Buffalo or Compeer as a whole. That's what I would love to have happen, and to have our clients thriving and growing in our own program and supporting that peer support program even more.
And if people want to get involved or learn about what involvement looks like with Compeer, where can they go?
The best place to start is on our website, compeerbuffalo.org, or our socials. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We just started a TikTok for any of the TikTok listeners out there. And so follow us there. You can get to know a little bit more about who we are. Our handle on most of those is Compeer Buffalo. And that'd be a great place to start to learn a little bit more. And there's forms you could fill out and set up time to talk to someone on the phone or meet with us. So we're happy to connect and explore.
Awesome. All right, last question.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who's on the fence about being a volunteer?
Oh my gosh, come to one of our activities and see what it's like. So while most of our volunteers are with their friends kind of out in the community and managing that relationship on their own, we also have a whole host of different types of activities that we put on. And it's a great way to get to know not only our staff and other volunteers, but the clients in our program as well. So come to an activity, and you can reach out to me directly, and I will help get you set up with that.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, this has been amazing. I really appreciate your time. Love the organization, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with you and support you any way we can.
Excellent. Thanks for the invitation, John.
For sure. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Angles. If this episode made you think, smile, or see something in a new way, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review and share it with friends. You can also follow us on social media. Angles is produced by Brett Tuttle. I'm John Richmond. See you next time.